Fred, how are you?
And you know, that's right. You were. So. Oh, there's a lot of people who don't know, sure. Let's try some other one. So, okay, did you get your box? You want to share? I can use this video now. Did you like them?
You know what was funny when it was buying this house. And really was really asking
What a mistake.
My friends in computer guidance in a different. Yeah.
Well, good luck with that route. First.
And it turned out to be successful.
What's that? Two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
French is new.
And should be up and about.
No, it's the rain. Never know what's gonna. That's a dark purple. This is the. No.
One condition have to pull.
I'm just looking at them right now. Right.
No, you know the ranch that on Garza?
Yes.
There's a lady that works there, she works with the.
How are you, sweetie?
Okay, okay.
On horses and everything, and she had. Right. Yeah, we're still eating leftovers and more again tomorrow.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So, our Torah portion for this week is Vayetze, and it consists of Jacob conniving against his brother, tricking him over a meal, and then Rachel getting together and scheming with Jacob to further deceive Jacob's father, and then Esau getting angry about the whole affair and threatening to kill his brother. It's basically any Thanksgiving meal, right? So just think of it that way. We may live in a different time in a different continent, but human behavior, it's still the same. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and now the scary reveal. I have no soloist tonight, so it is me, and you're just going to have to deal with that. So it is my delight to begin, first of all, with some reflections on community. Now, I know many of you have celebrated Thanksgiving. If you're a greedy Gus like me, basically a Thanksgiving hobbit, I had 2 Thanksgivings. And there's all kinds of, hopefully, good things came out of all of this. So it's time for Tov Uvracha. What good and blessing can you report from the past week that you can share with us? Anybody have some good and blessing they want to share? Helena.
Spent the holiday at my son's house.
Mm-hmm.
His partner made a wonderful dinner and her family was there. And so it was a very nice event.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Yes, Fred.
I went late for Thanksgiving yesterday
Uh-huh.
and did my grandson's laundry.
Wow. Okay.
At least, excuse me, at least 2 weeks worth of laundry.
The ultimate grandpa.
Give us $20.
Right. Wow. All right. Oh, you've got it down to a science. That's fantastic. All right. Yes, Amy.
Our family went to Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
For my first cousin's grandson's bar mitzvah.
Oh, Mazel Tov.
We got to meet our 3rd cousins for the first time.
Oh, that's wonderful. Which congregation in Phoenix? Not sure. That's okay. They're all the same. And how about over here? Anybody have a good and blessing to share? We're delighted you're both here. We wouldn't be able to light our Shabbos candles without you. All right. And what's going on over there? A new phone. Outstanding. No, this is no small thing. I basically, they used to say that we only use 10% of our brain. But now I realize they were just preparing us for saying, I only use 10% of my phone. I don't understand the other 90%. So that's good. That's good. Anybody else have a good and blessing? Well, I want to share that not only did I have 2 Thanksgiving dinners, but I've had a great time putting up this year's Hanukkah. Right. For those of you who are familiar with me, every year I put out a ever increasing Hanukkah display on my yard. And it usually involves conceiving of and creating objects that have never existed in physical space before. And I've got Assyrian war elephants and I've got Maccabees slaying hoplites. I've got the ancient temple. I've got a flying dreidel. I've got two Hanukkiahs. I have a flaming camel based on a Hanukkah story from the Talmud. Ask me later. And I also have a golem, not because golems have anything to do with Hanukkah, but then again, fairies and elves have nothing to do with Jesus, as far as I can tell. So I just continue. And then I realized this year that if, many of the Christmas displays around my neighborhood have, all these angels, people with trumpets and Roman togas and wings and this sort of thing. So I decided I would put in a biblically accurate angel. So I created an Ophan, which is the wheeled creature, sentient wheeled creature with eyes that serves God's chariot. And so it goes in 3 dimensions. It has googly eyes all over it, and it spins just like Ezekiel, the prophet, described it. It's got wings. It's fantastic. All right. And now that I've got this new train of thought about biblically accurate angels, I'm going to go with that for a while. All right. So maybe for the next few years, we'll get a Sar Kviot with a flaming sword, and we'll get Seraphim with 6 wings, and I'm having a good time. All right. So in addition to all of that, I'm aware that in the congregation this week, not only do we have everything you've described, but we have at least 8 birthdays. And so we want to recognize that Bert Barnes, Joanne Fromm, Oscar Helvik, and Daniel Leva, Michael Cohen, Savannah Gendel, Eva Klein Snow, and Dale Wade all celebrated their birthdays this week. So we want to give them a mazel tov. And now that we have brought our community together on this particular, by the way, oh man, I've just got too many things going on in my head. You know how many holidays are actually happening? So yes, we had Thanksgiving yesterday, but the day before that was Sigd. Sigd is the holiday celebrated by Ethiopian Jews to honor Moses's first encounter with God at the flaming bush, at the burning bush. And now it's also the first day of Rosh Hashanah Kislev, which will take us into Hanukkah. So there's just so many wonderful and happy things going on. All right, let's start getting off of my weird sugar high, and let's get a little more Shabbat oriented, and maybe we'll take time to do a nigun together. And I'm sorry, it's my nigun. You're just going to have to roll with it. Ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da da ya da da ya da 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 da. Ya da da da, ya da 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 da, ya da da ya da da ya da da. Help me out here, my dear. Ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da. Ya da da da, ya da 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 da, ya da da, ya da, ya da da. And now it is my privilege to invite up Josh and Renee, once of San Antonio, now of College Station, who have nevertheless come up here to be with us, and we've asked them to light the lights of Shabbat. For the rest of us, it's on page 1 of our prayer book, page 1.
Beginning, when the Spirit of God hovered over the darkness, God's first creation was light. As we kindle these Shabbat lights, we attach them the majesty of God's word and the joy in its beauty. Light is a symbol of divinity and creative goodness. It is the outward sign of that inner spark which God has granted each of us. In hope and with love, we now welcome Shabbat with light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu b'chol b'ner shel Shabbat.
Turns out there's a 99% chance this will go wrong. Here we go. That was for you.
Praised are you, Adonai, whose presence fills the world, who follows us with mitzvot and inspires us to kindle light. May God bless
Us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holy. May God bless us with Shabbat peace. Amen. Thank you. All right. Now you get the Kabbalat Shabbat that I learned in rabbinical school, and it's the only one I know. So we're just going to plunge ahead with this. Go to page 2 for Psalm 95. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, ladonai. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, ladonai. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu nikadmafa na betoda. Nauria, nauria, letzur yishenu, bezimrot nauria lo. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, ladonai. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, ladonai. Psalm 96, Yismechu Hashemayim. Yismechu Hashemayim v'targel haaretz v'yiram hayam umalo'o. Middle of the page, everyone. Let the heavens rejoice and the earth exult. Let the sea and all within it thunder. The fields and everything in them exult. And then shall all the trees of the forest shout for joy at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and its peoples faithfully. We're going to turn now to Psalm 29 on page 6. Havu ladonai b'nei elim, havu ladonai kavod va'oz, havu ladonai kevod shemo, ishtachavu Adonai b'hadrat kodesh, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. And we're going to do the Lechado D that I learned in Jerusalem. I actually call it the Navajo Lechado D. You'll get the hang of it in just a moment here. Lechado di likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamo v'zacho b'dibur echad, Ishmi'anu el haminuchad. Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lechado di likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor habracha, merosh mekedem nesucha, sof maaseh v'makshavatila. Lechado di likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela hitoruri Kiva ore kumi ori uri ishir da beri kavod Adonai alayik nigla. Could I have Vicky and Don man the door? Please rise, everyone. Lecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam v'simcha uzola toch emunei am sigula boi chala Lecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Psalm 92. Mizmor shir liyom hashabbat tov lehodot l'Adonai ulzamir l'shimcha elyon v'higod b'boker hastecha v'emunatecha balalilot ale asar v'ale nevel v'ale higor hinor. It is good to give thanks to Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, and to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a harp, with voice and lyre in unison. Sadiq katamar yifrak v'keres v'levnon yizgeh, and the righteous they shall bloom like a palm. They shall thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. We continue now with Hatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. V'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechan u'vyomechan Uchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, bagala, uvizman kariv, v'imaru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mivorach, le'alam ulal me'al maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnase, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal, shmei dekudsha v'richu, le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran belma, v'imaru, amen. Whether it be in body or spirit, we invite you, if able, to please rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamporah, Baruch Adonai Hamporah Le'olam Va'ed. Ma'ariv Aravim, the constancy of God's presence in the world. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chokma poteach sharim, u'vitvuna meshane itim, u'machadif et hazmanim, u'msader et hakokavim, v'mishmerotea b'rakia kitzono. Borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, u'mavir yom u'mevi layla, u'mavdil ben yom u'ven layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Praised are you, Adonai, who makes this evening fall. Ahavat olam. And unending is your love for your people. Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts you have taught us. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and rejoice in your Torah and mitzvot forever. Day and night we will reflect on them. for they are our life and the length of our days. And then your love shall never depart from our hearts. Blessed is Adonai, who loves the people Israel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Vaed. You may be seated. And I invite you to join me together in the English of the Via Hafta on the bottom of page 13. You shall love Adonai your God with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your being. And these words which I command you this day shall be upon your heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. So shall you dedicate yourselves to your God. I, Adonai, am your God, who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I, Adonai, am your God. Emet v'emunah. Emet ve'emunah kol zot v'kayam aleinu ki hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ein zulato ve'nachnu Yisrael amo. True and enduring, beloved and precious, awesome, good, and beautiful is this eternal teaching. This truth we hold to be forever certain. Adonai is our ruler, the rock of Jacob, shield of our salvation. Adonai, our God, you redeemed us from Egypt. You set us free from the house of bondage. For this, the people who felt your love sang songs of praise to you. Living God, high and exalted, mighty and awesome, who humbles the proud and raises the lowly, who frees the captive and redeems the oppressed, who is the answer to all who cry out. All praise to God Most High, the source of blessing. And like Moses and Israel, we sing this song of rejoicing. Mi chamoch, everybody. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 ya da 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 da. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neda b'kodesh. Ose nora tehilot ose fele. Nora tehilot osefele. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokeach yam lifnei Moshe. Ze Elianu v'amru, Ze Elianu v'amru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. La 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Ashkivenu. Grant that this night we lie down in peace, Adonai our God, and raise us up tomorrow, O Sovereign, to a life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, and for your name's sake, be our help. Shield us from hatred and plague. Keep us from war, famine, and anguish. Subdue our inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, our gracious and merciful Sovereign, give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. O guard our coming and our going, that always we have life and peace. We praise you, O God, whose sukkah of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. We turn now for the next part of our service on page 17 to Tefillah. Again, if able, please rise. Adonai sefer hakita ufiya ikahidatecha Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, v'zocher haseot v'imot, u'mevi gula livnei b'neihem, v'nan shemo v'ahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Yitzchak Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayeh hakol atah rav l'hoshia. Mechalkel Chaim v'chesed, Mechayeh hakol v'rachamim rabim. So make no flim v'rofei olim, u'matir asurim, u'mekayem emunato l'shanei afar, mikamo kalav giburu. Umi domela, melech memit, umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, b'nei manata l'chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Kedusha, nikadesh et shimcha ba'olam. Sorry. Stuck in Shabbat morning. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh kadoshim b'chol yom lekalu kasela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el kadosh. Please be seated. All right. So let's do, we haven't done Vishamru for a while, so let's do Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Reitzeh, Adonai our God, show favor to your people Israel and lovingly receive our prayers. May the worship of your people always be acceptable to you, for you alone do we hold in reverence. Modim, we give thanks to you, Adonai our God and God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our lives, the shield of our salvation for all generations. We thank you and recite your praises. Let all the living affirm you and praise your name as the God of our salvation and help. Praised are you, Adonai. Goodness is your name. All praises to you. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha lecha ne'eh lehodo. We're going to close out with Shalom Rav on page 23, and then we're going to just take a moment or two for our own silent prayers and meditations. So, Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam, tasim le'olam. Please take time now for your own prayers. Ose shalom bimromah, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amin. Ose shalom bimromah, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amin. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Thank you for your patience. Whenever I have to lead everything, I usually fade out around Shabbat, around Vishamru. So you've been very patient with me. So, first of all, a disclaimer. This is not entirely my sermon. This was originally written by Rabbi Stanley Wagner, and I really liked his illustrations, but I thought he made the entirely wrong conclusions. So rather like the movie AI, which started out being made by, one director and ended up being finished by another director. It's going to become increasingly my sermon as time goes on, but I want you to be aware that it starts out as someone else's sermon. Oh, no, actually, this part is mine, this whole thing about Plymouth Rock. All right, so we've got two rocks in this week. Two rocks, right? Of course, so we have Plymouth Rock, which we associate with Thanksgiving, and then we have the rock that our ancestor Jacob placed his head upon that appears in our Torah portion, Vayetze, right? So I want to start by talking about Plymouth Rock. Now, when I was a child, I lived on the East Coast, my parents took me to Plymouth Rock, and so I got to see Plymouth Rock, which quite honestly is a little bit of a disappointment. I mean, there's just not much going on there aside from a rock besides the coast of New England. But in any case, what was absolutely sure was the meaning of that rock. That rock was the starting point of America. It was the beginning of all the good stuff. And so that rock had a kind of, dare I say, secular sacredness to it. But of course, starting in the 1960s, I always remember the publication of D. Brown's book, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. We started getting a different perspective. And while our European ancestors may have landed on Plymouth Rock, it became increasingly clear that Plymouth Rock landed on the first Americans, and that Native Americans suffered with the aftermath of what Plymouth Rock represents. So it turns out that things, if not change meaning, inherit extra layers of meaning over time. And I think that that's something that's very appropriate for our Torah portion this week. So first of all, you know, many rabbis have interpreted this Torah portion by filling it up, taking the simple tale of our ancestor Jacob and how he cheats his brother and then schemes to cheat his father, and how he has the assistance of his mother, and then everything goes awry and he has to flee. And many different interpretations are offered because, quite frankly, we're a little uncomfortable with our ancestor Jacob being such a jerk. So, you know, we tell stories that are not in the Bible. And sometimes these stories sort of get blended with the narrative of the Bible itself. And it's important to remind people that there is a distinction between how the Bible tells these events and how we've interpreted. So let's consider Jacob. When Jacob runs from his home in Beersheba, as he fled his brother Esau's anger over his deceptive taking of their father's blessing, and he rushes north, I would say northwest, towards Uncle Laban. I'll disagree with Dr. Wagner here. I'm going to say northwest, with Uncle Laban's home in Haran, which is in Syria, which was, we're not sure exactly where. We have some idea. On the way, he happened upon an unidentified place. And since it was nighttime, he decided that he was going to rest there. Now, some rabbis may refer to the Babylonian Talmud in their sermons, which states that the place that he rested ended up being Mount Moriah, which, if you go all the way back further in Genesis, you discover is the mountain where God commands Abraham to take his son for the intended, we'll say alleged because he was never convicted, sacrifice of his son Isaac. And that the rock that Jacob lays his head upon is actually the rock that Abraham was going to use as the altar for the sacrifice. Although many commentators such as Saadia Gaon and Ibn Ezra and Radak and Rashbam and Ibn Kaspi do not agree with this view, seeing it as really just a homily made up after the fact. It's also understandable why the Talmudic sages would want to emphasize the spiritual significance of what would become Jacob's dream. So making the rock special helped do that. It is, after all, what we're about to hear about Jacob's dream, one of the most significant spiritual events in the Bible. But, you know, we want to elaborate on that. So the question that then becomes, is Mount Moriah holy as the homilies intend? That this holy place is what causes our ancestor Jacob to wake up in the aftermath and say, God is in this place and I did not know it. Now, does that mean the place was already holy when he got there? Or was it something else? Now, the sages are saying, yeah, it was. I mean, this is the place where God specifically commanded Abraham to go. So this must have been holy at the time of Abraham. And then they go even further back and they say, well, look at this is actually the first spot where the known universe emerged. Basically, it's the navel of the world. And everything came out of that. So they get very elaborate on this idea. And so it becomes that this place is holy. It's everything. Everything flows from it. Maimonides felt that places and objects, however, are not holy per se. Holiness exists when people use things, he argued, to improve themselves and to improve their culture and society. Thus, he would say that the site of Abraham's near sacrifice, assuming that those events are not a dream, and Maimonides says they were a dream, we won't get into it, are not actually holy. Mount Sinai is not holy, even though the 10 Commandments, the Decalogue, the Aseret Dibrot was revealed there. Cemeteries, even when pious people are buried there, are not sacred ground in the way, for example, Catholics talk about it. Just because there are important people buried there, people should spend their time instead, as far as Maimonides is concerned, is studying Torah. That's the holiest thing he can think of. Scripture also states in verse 11 that before going to sleep, Jacob took from the stones of the place and put it or them, it's not clear, under his head. The text is unclear whether from indicates a single stone, which would seem the most likely, or a lot of stones. The verb v'yasem could apply to either, so it's ambiguous. Did Jacob place many or a single stone under his head? Later in verse 18, the scripture clearly states Jacob took the stone and that he placed under his head and he turned it into an altar. This verse prompts a whole midrashic interpretation which exploits the obscurity and makes claims about the meaning of one rock versus many rocks accordingly. The 13th century biblical commentator Chazniki maintains that the stone that Jacob took from the altar was the very one that was used by Abraham. The Talmud, on the other hand, insists that the stones were many stones and each one of them quarreled over who was going to get to have Jacob's head rest upon it. So according to this, God resolves the dispute between the stones by merging all of the stones into a single stone that is the one mentioned in verse 18. So what are they trying to say? Are the sages suggesting that God is displeased with quarreling and divisiveness, in which case that would explain why he's always angry with us, because we're always quarreling and divisive, or even over something that people consider to be sacred, or an opportunity to perform a mitzvah. Maybe God is saying, according to the Talmud, that God prefers unity. It's more important. How should we understand Chazniki then? Is he simply following the method of many commentators in which they find and reconcile confusing reports occurring at a particular place and date? Is it the case that there's just not that many stones in the world that are important enough to sacrifice someone on and sleep on? So it's got to be the same stone? Who knows? Who knows? Once Jacob falls asleep, he has a dream. And Jacob sees an object. And again, we're not really sure what that object is. The word is solam. And solam is either a ladder, or it's a ramp, or it's a staircase. All of those have been proposed for it. That is inserted into the ground, and its top reaches towards heaven. And angels, however they may look, ascend and descend from it. And at the top, Jacob sees God. The dream can be interpreted, for example, in a Freudian manner. It's the result of the tensions that Jacob has been undergoing, trying to secure his father's blessing, cheating on his brother, conniving with his mother, all the anger and tension around all of that. And so he's anxious, and this is all an expression of that anxiousness. However, other commentators have other views, such as, well, the angels figuratively show how people should act. It's a kind of parable teaching us that we should strive upward to obtain wisdom and then descend into everyday life to apply that wisdom wherever we go. That's Maimonides' interpretation. Or the vision informs people that angels are needed in life, which is Nachmanides' opinion and why I now have an angel in my yard. The dream, on the other hand, could be a prophecy. That Jacob sees that there will be a revelation at Mount Sinai, which is the Sulam that we can't really define. And in the dream, he is taught that the Torah would later be revealed to his descendants. So it comes down with the angels, even as Moses ascends in his imagination. So that knowing what the future holds, he is fortified for his visit with Laban, who, after all, is a pagan. And so, this is just giving him foreshadowing to know that he needs to stay loyal to the God of Israel. Others suggest Jacob is assured in his vision that the Jewish people will have triumphs and defeats, but God will always stand over them and watch over everything that happens. They're all pretty decent interpretation. What makes more sense, the Freudian view or the prophecy view or the, kind of parabolic view of these? It all depends with the times. It's not the sacred nature, as far as I'm concerned, about this location that makes it holy ground, nor is it the sacred time, the sacred occasion of Jacob falling asleep at this pivotal moment in our past, but the need of we, the listeners, the people hearing the story at the time we hear it. What makes sense to us in the context of our own lives, or in the moment in which we revisit the story, that's the meaning. If any one of those interpretations resonated with you, because that feels right in your place, in your circumstances, that's the holiness. That's the sacred thing. The holy, the sacred, the Kodesh does not arise in space. It's not one place, or even in time, or in rocks, or in visions. It always arises in relationship. The things that we can find to relate to in this story that help us make sense of our own time and our own place in the world. It's not holy where Jacob finds himself, but it's holy where we encounter Jacob. His journey is meant to speak to our journey. Tonight, we place our head upon the rock that is our circumstances and our concerns and our worries. And what we learn from what happened to Jacob and what we conclude it all means, that's holiness. That's where the holy resides, not in time, not in space, but in our experience and encounter with our text and our God. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. So now it's time for our announcements, and that would be Michelle Tell. Thank you, Madam Vice President. Secretary. Well, but you're the Vice President of Secretariness. Or something like that. Anyway, here you go.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Greg F. Timmy needs your help. We have a member that needs assistance. He's Vice President of Membership Support. So his committee oversees folks that are sick and need assistance, as well as other support issues. And we have a congregant who is sick and is going in for surgery. And that person is going to need help with meals and rides and that sort of thing. And Greg is looking for people that are willing to assist. And he has set up a care calendar. We're trying to keep, well, we're successfully keeping, because I don't even know the name of this congregant a secret. So if you want to sign up, you need to contact Greg directly, and you can get his information through our office. And call Greg if you don't know how to call Greg, or Facebook him or whatever. Also, the Tikkun Olam sock and underwear drive is underway. Did you know that each night over 600,000 people live on the streets of this country? And as our weather turns cooler, we're trying to bring some warmth to them. So from November 18th through December 30th, we will be taking donations of socks and underwear for adults of all sizes and genders. The donations can be dropped off here. There's a box out in front of the office, I believe. And Melissa, if you have any questions, you contact Melissa Trapani, and you can get her information through the front office as well. The office closed for Thanksgiving. I guess that's old news. Sports fans, we are going to see the Rough Riders and the Dallas Stars as a congregation. The Rough Riders are offering group tickets to us, and the Dallas Stars are sponsoring a Jewish community night. You can purchase the Dallas Stars tickets now. And the Rough Riders event the date has yet to be decided, but once that's been put together, we will put the information out on our website or in the community blast. So if you want to go see the Dallas Stars, the information should be on our website, or you can contact the front office. And right now we're offering 20% off of everything in the gift shop. So check out the sales through December 18th. And our chief manager of the shop is sitting right back there, Betty Gross. I can tell you that she bends over backwards to help you. I just bought something from her myself. So great stuff in the gift shop. Kol Ami is happy to announce another round of CRAZE, which stands for Civilian Response to Active Shooter Events, and Stop the Bleed training. We are conducting this training in conjunction with the Flower Mound Police and the department and the fire department. CRAZE will be Thursday, December 1st at 7:00 p.m. and the Stop the Bleed training will be the following Monday, December 5th at 7:00 p.m. The training is open to the public. You don't have to be a member of the congregation to have a member. So if you want to bring a friend or a relative, you're welcome to do that. Please feel free to bring as many people as you would like. There are some graphic images and events as part of the CRAZE training, so you may want to be aware of that in case you want to bring any children. For this week, on the Mayor Shabbat list, we have Joanne Barnes, Joyce Bloom, Natalie Bovino, Karen Brown, Sandy Cook, Mark Davis, Nancy Enneman, Harry Enneman, the Fosnote family, Francine Feingold, Michelle Griffith, Carol Jones, Molly Kalig, John Kaufman, Deb Kaufman, Lauren Koenig, Alex Koenig, Richard Kurjan, Gianna LaMonica, Deb Ledden, Richard Lenzner, Matt Levin, Phyllis Lorelei, Paxton Lucht, Wynn Marks, Paul Redwood Jr., the Roberts family, Helen Rubel, Bruce Sari, Adrienne Sandler, Del Seaver, Anika Tova, Say, Shoshana Wacholder, Happy Waterman, Karen Weinstein, Barry Weinstein, Carly Wisniewski, and Tom Wolf. Is there anyone else who has a name to add to the Mayor Shabbat list? Thank you.
Barry Owens.
Thank you.
and Marilyn Colton.
Thank you.
So if you want to join us in reciting the Mishaberach, you'll find it on page 40 of your prayer book. It's also on the back of your folder. And I hope you'll join in. We offer a prayer for the body and spirit of the people who we know who may be suffering. Mishaberach Avotenu Mikor habracha Imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mikor habracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Yasher Koach. Thank you very much. All right, our underwear drive seems to me to be an occasion for me to expound on my undergraduate degree studies, which was the history of technology. So let me tell you about the importance of underwear. Underwear, as we know it today, was invented somewhere around the 12th century. It was all boxers, no briefs. But what it meant was a rapid increase in hygiene, because your external garments were no longer necessarily exposed to your naughty bits. And it became possible to recycle what you were wearing underneath, wash it. People generally didn't wash their exterior clothing, their outerwear at all, or very rarely. So this meant an occasion to remove dirt and harmful things next to your skin, as well as cycling out things like ticks and bugs and fleas and things like this. So this is a big deal. All right. And then just to add to that, because the added benefit was after washing them, number of times, that they just weren't holding up anymore. So what they would do is they would throw them away. They would be shredded and they would be turned into paper. Yes, exactly. That's what I said too when I learned this, because this is, within 2 centuries, we have the printing press and we need to be able to produce more and more paper, which we couldn't do. When everything was made on animal hide, you just couldn't produce that much material. But when you had underwear being thrown away, you could wash it and recycle it and make documents. And that spread knowledge, and that had a very positive impact on hygiene. But you have to wash your underwear every once in a while for it to make any sense, or you have to have a change of underwear. For the homeless, you really make a big difference in their lives if you provide them with a regular change of underwear. It seems silly and we laugh, but it really is a remarkable gift to provide for people who do not have regular access to hygiene, as our ancestors didn't. So just, go home and contemplate that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we now turn to page 82, and we're going to do the Aleinu and the Kaddish as the close of our ceremony. It's Ellen, right? Is it Evie? Ellie, would you come up and help me do the last part of the service? You don't have to do anything, you won't understand. Come on up. Everyone, please rise. We're on page 82. So come on up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this panel out, and then it's going to tip that way. Are you ready? Put your hand there on the side. There we go. And pull, and out it goes. See? There we go. And now we're going to say some prayers, and then we'll close it. Page 82. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tekel l'yotzer breishi, shelo asanu k'boyei haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo sam kelkenu kehem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'nachnu korim, Umishakami umodi lifnei melech Malkei hamlachi hakadosh baruch hu. One more time. Shehu noten shamayim v'yoser haaretz Hoshad vikaro v'shamayim bima Ushki natuzo v'gohei meromim Hu Eloheinu Eino, Emet Malkeinu Efesulato, Kakatu B'Torato, V'yadata Hayom V'Hashevota El Levavecha, Ki Adonai Hu HaElohim, B'Shamayim Mimah, V'al haaretz mitachat ein od. Awesome, thank you so much. Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad. We now take time to recall with love and gratitude the names of those people that we've recently lost, as well as those people who died at this season in years past. As we think of them, we meditate upon the meaning of love and of loss, of life and of death. In that spirit, I begin by asking everyone gathered here, has anyone here lost a loved one in the past 7 days? Is anyone in Shiva? If so, please share the name with us. For Shloshim, we continue to mourn with Lisa Cagle over her cousin, Cheryl Mendlinger. And we also mourn with Danielle Roseberry, who is grieving for her friend, Dr. David Jenikov. And with Violet Neff Helms, who's grieving for the loss of her niece, Laura Leah Weeks, and with Harry Friedman at the death of his aunt, Barbara Sherman, all of whom died in the last 30 days. Is there anyone else who has lost someone in Shloshim in the last 30 days? Finally, we want to honor these people connected to our community, whose yahrzeits, whose anniversaries of death occurred this week. Ida Arts, John Arts, Duncan Bender, Herbert Golden, Jim Jacuz, Harold Kaplan, and Lizzie Kowarski. Is there anyone here who has the yahrzeit in their family? Someone that they love who's died at this week in years past? We want to honor the memory of all these people. We also want to show our support and sympathy for those who grieve for them by reciting Kaddish together. I ask the entire congregation, please rise. It will be on page 85 for the mourners Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah ve'alma divrach tirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael Bagalal uizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach leolam ulamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu le'elam in kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba mim shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mruma hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael V'imru, Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us. And let us say, Amen. So, let's see. I should pick a song that I don't have to sing very long and you don't have to listen to very long. How about for our closing? Oh gosh, for our closing song, page 95, it is Thanksgiving weekend. So let's sing America the Beautiful. Okay, page 95, page 5. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I think we have a very nice oneg waiting for us, so let's go and enjoy it. Joshua Kol Ami and lady, thank you for helping out. We appreciate it. Joshua Kol Ami, you. And to you. Thank you.